unprecedented and anxious time in all our lives. My wife and I are thinking particularly of all those who have lost their loved ones in such very difficult and abnormal circumstances, and of those having to endure sickness, isolation and loneliness. As patron of Age UK and my wife the patron of Silverline, our hearts go out to all those older people throughout this country who are now experiencing great difficulty. However, we also know that in every community up and down this land, where people of all ages are being affected by this virus, there are truly wonderful neighbours, individuals and groups of volunteers who are providing ceaseless care and attention to those most at risk.
Hello, my name is Dakota Sawyer, and this is the Daily Update. Happy Tuesday to you all. Today is April 7th, and we're going to dive deep. We have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to dive deep onto what's going on with the coronavirus. So first up, we have on our list, Ohio will appeal the ruling allowing abortion clinics to remain open. We have seen this Judge Bennett of the Southern District of Ohio Judge Barrett, ruled that abortion clinics were considered essential and they must remain open. Well, the Ohio Attorney General disagrees with that, and so they are filing an appeal with the Federal Appeals Court and going through that process. The Ohio Attorney General, Dave Yost, said he will appeal a federal judge's ruling that exempts abortion clinic from a mandate to cancel all elective surgeries. You know, we see this throughout the left, and we see this, throughout, politics. They want to call themselves pro-choice and say that this is a choice. Well, how is this not an elective surgery? Why was this exempt from others? We want the law to be equally applied. Well, why isn't the law being equally applied here? Several abortion providers sued the state last Monday seeking relief from the Ohio Department of Health's order to cancel all elective and non-essential surgeries. How is an abortion non-essential? How is an abortion an essential surgery? Why do you need an abortion? How is that a need? We learned this back in kindergarten. What are our needs and what are our wants? Well, I don't need an abortion. I want to have an abortion. That's two different things. You want to have an abortion. You don't need it. You don't. Science has proven it. You don't need an abortion. So it's essentially considered non-essential. So, that's what the order applies. We want the law to be equally applied. So let the law be equally applied. This is from Judge Barrett's ruling. Enforcement of the director's order as applied to surgical abortion procedures will result in an unconstitutional deprivation of the plaintiff's patient's 14th Amendment right to substantive due process because enforcement creates a substantial obstacle in the path of patients seeking pre-viability abortions, thus creating an undue burden of abortion access. And if you look at Judge Barrett's record, I promise you he is pro-choice. He has made rulings like this before. He was the one who blocked the heartbeat bill from going into effect. So he is not, some conservative judge. This man is a pro-choice leftist who sits in the Cincinnati, the Southern District of Ohio. Now, how much you want to bet these abortion clinics went judge shopping to pick which judge would be on their side? We have one of the plaintiffs, the preterm clinic in Cleveland. Why didn't they file this up in Cleveland? Why did they file this in the Southern District of Ohio? Because they went judge shopping you. We see this without the left. We see them go judge shopping because they know that these judges will rule with them. When Nancy Pelosi wants to stop President Trump, where does she go to file it in the federal district? The Ninth Circuit. She goes to the Ninth Circuit because she knows it's a liberal circuit. She knows that's where the judge will rule in her favor. So they went judge shopping. Planned Parenthood's acting president, Alexis McGill Johnson, said the swift ruling should send a clear message to politicians and anti-abortion activists. anti-abortion. Whatever happened, calling us pro-life? We're pro-life. That's what we stand for. We want to protect the fundamentally of life inside the womb. That's what we are. We're pro-life. And so she uses, these terms, and she uses these terms to describe us like we're like monsters, like we're fascists marching down the street as, going by what our Führer says. No, that's not what's happening. We're protecting the fundamental right of life. Our Declaration of Independence says, you have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It says it in the Ohio Constitution. You have a right to life, liberty, and property. It says it in the Ohio Constitution. So it violates, the Ohio Constitution. Chrissy France, executive director of Preterm Clinic, argued that abortion is essential and time-sensitive healthcare service. How is this essential? When is an abortion essential surgery? Why do you need immediate care to an abortion right now? You don't. That's the answer is plain and simple. You don't need immediate access to an abortion right now. You really don't. So every time, so the Attorney General Dave Yost filed a notice Wednesday stating that Ohio will appeal Barrett's ruling to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, requests a stay of the order until the appeal is decided. So this is from the Right to Life Coalition of Ohio. This is a right thing to do. We thank Governor DeWine and Attorney General Dave Yost for their quick action. Why should abortion facilities be exempt from their health directives issued in ambulatory surgical facilities? An abortion is not an emergency situation. Molly Smith, the president of the Right to Life Coalition, and she continues on by defying the directives issued by the Ohio Department of Health. The abortion facilities in Ohio put all citizens in danger. So we have seen this, that, dentist offices are closed, because we want to give more PPE, personal protective equipment, to hospitals that desperately need it. If we're in such a shortage, why do these abortion clinics want to stay open when they could be saving lives? Instead of killing lives, as they do in, the abortion procedure, why don't we save lives from the coronavirus? Why don't we do that instead? Why instead, of us taking away a life, we save a life? That's what we should be doing. So, moving on, more than 225,000 people have signed the petition to reinstate fired aircraft carrier captain Brett Krauser, the fired commander of the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt. The Change.org petition to reinstate Captain Kozar as a commanding officer had gathered 239,003 signatures as press time Sunday afternoon. Kozar was relieved of his duties Thursday after writing a letter asking officials to send help to the Theodore Roosevelt, where more than 100 sailors were infected with coronavirus. Kozar's letter asking for help was obtained exclusively by the San Francisco Chronicle and confirmed by a senior officer on board the aircraft carrier. Kozar wrote in his letter, "We are not at war. Sailors do not need to die. If we do not act now, we are failing to properly take care of our most trusted asset, our sailors." So we're seeing that people need people are coming together to reinstate Captain Kozar. This is from his letter. Removing the majority of personnel from a deployed U.S. nuclear aircraft carrier and isolating them for 2 weeks may seem like an extraordinary measure. He continued, "This is a necessary risk. Keeping over 4,000 young men and women on board the Theodore Roosevelt is an unnecessary risk and breaks faith with those sailors entrusted to our care." We have seen reports that the acting Navy secretary acted alone on this. He did not receive advice from the president. The president did not remove him from command. It was the Navy secretary the Secretary of the Navy who removed him from duty of the Theodore Roosevelt. The Theodore Roosevelt is a nuclear aircraft carrier, so this is a vital asset of the United States Navy. In other news, the United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson is hospitalized with coronavirus after 10 days in self-quarantine. The United Kingdom's Office of the Prime Minister announced in a brief statement Sunday that Boris Johnson has hospitalized on the advice of his doctor. In their statement, the Prime Minister has tonight been admitted in hospital for tests, the statement said, adding, "This is a precautionary step as the Prime Minister continues to have persistent symptoms of coronavirus 10 days after testing positive for the virus. The populist Prime Minister tested positive for COVID-19 March 26 and has been in self-quarantine at 10 Downing Street since then." According to worldometers.com, the United Kingdom currently has 47,806 active cases of the Chinese virus sweeping the globe, increase of nearly 6,000 within 24 hours. Over 4,900 have died, and the website lists that 135 people have covered. We wish a speedy recovery to the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. My prayers are with him and his family as he goes through this difficult time. We don't want to see any more people die of this virus. It's not what we want, but we do, I hope that Prime Minister Johnson gets better, that he feels better, he gets back on his feet, and he's back running the United Kingdom once again. The Prime Minister wanted to thank the NHS staff for all their incredible hard work and urged the public to continue following the government's advice to stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives. The Prime Minister has been going at that campaign for a while, for about a month now, called "Stay at Home, Protect the NHS, and Save Lives," preventing any more deaths and contracting it with doctors that you may go see when you go to the NHS. So, in other news with the coronavirus, COVID-19 hospitality industry as the economy sheds 701,000 jobs. We're seeing the economy going down at a spiral. The start of the devastation from the Chinese virus is clearly reflected in the new monthly jobs report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, which shows that the economy axed 701,000 jobs in March. The unemployment rate jumped from a near historic low of 3.5% to 4.4%. The report brings an end to the nation's 113-month streak in job creation and shows only the tip of the iceberg of the damage many Americans are beginning to experience during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the report, most of the damage is hospitality industry, which accounts for nearly 2/3 of all job losses. The stark contrast to last month, where the same category led in job creation, adding 53,000 jobs. So we're seeing that our economy is taking a big impact from the coronavirus. We're losing jobs at a rapid pace. Our economy is going down, not to anybody's fault. This is not President Trump's fault. This is nobody's fault. The only blame we can blame is COVID-19 for, but we can't blame, an inanimate object. So, this is nobody's fault. Our economy will be back on track. The economists are saying 46 weeks that our economy will start going back again. We'll see a bull market. So we'll see on what's going on. So in addition, the number of unemployed where job losses for fewer than 5 weeks increased by 1.5 million to 3.5 million, accounting for almost half of the unemployed. Others indicators the devastation include a reduction of 3 million in total employment, bringing the labor force participation rate to 62.7%, which represents a decrease of 0.02 percentage points. So we're seeing, as I stated, we're seeing the economy going down. That's not what we want. We want our economy to go back up. So we continue to look at all the facts and figures on what's going on with COVID-19, on, what we can do with the economy. So average hourly earnings did increase by 11 cents to $28.62 per hour, which means that over the past year's wages have increased by 3.1%, but some would suggest this increase is due to lower wage earners losing jobs first, as higher paid employees are able to work from home. So here's what we lost Here's the list of the jobs we lost. The leisure and hospitality, food service, and drinking establishments, we lost 459,000 jobs. In healthcare and social assistance, we lost 61,000 jobs. Professional and business, we lost 52,000 jobs. Retail trade, we lost 46,000 jobs. Construction, 29,000 jobs. Manufacturing, 18,000 jobs. The federal government added 18,000 jobs in March, reflecting the hiring of 17,000 temporary workers to help conduct the 2020 census. So the only jobs we saw increasing were people who are going out to do the census. Because the census is very vitally important. Make sure that you do fill out your census, because that is very vitally important on how local governments gets its funds, on how Ohio gets its funds, on how we can see the taxpayer money at work. So make sure you do fill out the census. In analyzing last month's incredible jobs report, I suggest that this is a calm before the storm, and we'll have to wait and see. We now see what happens when a global pandemic hits a booming economy and almost entirely shuts it down. And we haven't seen the worst of it. So the economists are saying that 4 to 6 weeks, that the economy will be back up. So they're saying that the true unemployment numbers could be as high as 10%, according to the Heritage Foundation. Rachel Gressler, who factors in numbers applying for unemployment claims over the last 2 weeks of March. So we're seeing that unemployment could be as high as 10%. This is very devastating for our country. This is, very vitally important that our economy gets back on track. It's starting to look like it. Stocks are rising. The U.S. stock futures are posting gains, recovering from last week's losses and brushing off a drop in oil. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is raising by 3.6%, or over 700 points. The Dow Jones is at 21,000 today at the opening day. President Trump, during the coronavirus task force briefing, noted some areas saw a stabilization of cases. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases are now numbers 1.2 million as of Sunday afternoon, with fatalities at 68,148. So we're seeing that our stock market is starting to take a better turn. Our stock market is rising, so we'll see on what's going on. The U.S. crude traded down 4.5%, trimming early losses of 6% on reports. OPEC is said to have postponed its Monday emergency meeting and pushed it out to mid-April. So we're seeing these stock markets are coming back as, we're stabilizing the coronavirus. So we're seeing that it's, starting to slow down. We're flattening the curve, as most doctors would put it. We're social distancing. That's what we all need to do, is to get over this. We're seeing that this will get over this. So Trump held a meeting with oil executives Friday, promising to support their industry amid a collapse in oil prices, partly due to drop-off in demand related to the coronavirus, and also due to a price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. So this isn't only due to the coronavirus; this is also due to the battle between Saudi Arabia and Russia at this point. So for the weeks, the stocks fell across the board, with the number of COVID-19 cases crossed 1 million globally. The Dow fell 2.6%, while the S&P lost 2.1%, and NASDAQ slid 1.7%. So we're seeing that's going, that few weeks ago, our stock market was on a downhill turn. Now we're seeing our stock market start going back up, which is a good thing. We're starting to see this. So in other, besides economic news, we can put that away for now. An Arizona man was arrested for allegedly coughing on a gas pump handle. Okay, well, that's, we talk about that. So a man was arrested for coughing at a gas pump. So a 23-year-old California man was arrested after he allegedly coughed on a gas pump handle in Arizona town of Yuma, a report said. ABC 15 reported that the suspect has not shown any symptoms of the virus, which does not mean he's not infected, since carriers of the virus can be asymptomatic. He is reportedly motivated by other videos that were posted online and could be charged with unlawful use of an infectious biological substance. So We saw that the Attorney General has said that people will be imprisoned for terrorism if they spread the virus intentionally. So we're seeing that going on, so that we're seeing a large crackdown of this. In another news across the pond, Queen Elizabeth addressed the coronavirus pandemic Sunday afternoon from her home in Windsor. At the Windsor Castle, Queen Elizabeth gave a rare address to the nation on Sunday, uplifting the spirits of her people in the United Kingdom and offering hope to her country as it faces the devastating coronavirus pandemic. The reigning monarch acknowledged the suffering that many families have endured because of COVID-19, which has infected over 42,000 people in the United Kingdom and killed at least 4,313 of them, according to researchers. The televised address was recorded in the White Drawing Room at Windsor Castle. The location was specifically chosen for the broadcast because it provided enough space between the 93-year-old and the camera person, who wore personal protective equipment. The Queen paid tribute to Britain's beloved National Health Service and other essential services, together with around 75,000 people volunteered to help the vulnerable. So we're seeing that Queen Elizabeth, her words were remarkable, and we'll play that video here shortly. So the crisis hit close to home for the monarch. Her son and the heir to the British throne, Prince Charles, had a mild case of the disease. The Prince of Wales, who's 71, has since recovered his office. Clarence House has confirmed to Fox News last week. So we're seeing that the Prince Charles is going on, he's recovering very well for this. Elizabeth herself left London and has remained at her home in Windsor with her husband, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. The monarch and her 98-year-old spouse are among those over 70 who the British government advised to stay home for 12 weeks. So we're seeing that the reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth, is vulnerable for this disease, and so is her husband, Prince Philip. So they have left London because they are vulnerable, and she gave a remarkable speech. So here's her speech that she gave. Here's part of her speech.
I'm speaking to you at what I know is an increasingly challenging time, a time of disruption in the life of our country, a disruption that has brought grief to some, financial difficulties to many, and enormous changes to the daily lives of us all. I want to thank everyone on the NHS frontline, as well as care workers and those carrying out essential roles, who selflessly continue their day-to-day duties outside the home in support of us all. I'm sure the nation will join me in assuring you that what you do is appreciated, and every hour of your hard work brings us closer to a return to more normal times.
Yeah, what a remarkable, I love when she was talking about, she said, "We will succeed, and that success will belong to every one of us. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again. But for now, I send my thanks and warmest good wishes to you all." What a remarkable lady that Queen Elizabeth is, that she gave that message out Sunday afternoon. So it was a very heartwarming message, and I hope that you all did enjoy that message as much as I did. So back to Ohio. The Hamilton County prosecutor, Joe Dieters, on the stay-at-home order violators, he said, and I quote, "Sit your butt in jail." Joe Dieters, who didn't hold back Saturday night when discussing his feelings for those who violate Ohio's stay-at-home order in an interview on 700 WLW, the Hamilton County prosecutor said he's given the green light to Sheriff Jim Neal to arrest and pursue felony charges to who violate the stay-at-home order. Well, I got a message for Joe Dieters. Does this not apply? Does our Constitution no longer apply anymore? Does this, our Constitution on which you swore an oath on, does this not apply anymore? Can the police just arrest us for leaving our home? Is that how this works? You swore an oath to uphold this. As a county prosecutor, you swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. So help you God. You swore an oath on the Bible to this. So does our constitutional rights no longer matter to you? Is that what this is? Does any of the Constitution, does any of our rights matter to what you think? Really, this is frustrating. He said, you are attempting, in my mind, as a prosecutor, to commit serious physical harm to people, and that's a felonious assault. Dieters told the Inquirer columnist Jason Williams, who's hosting the radio show, so fine, sit your butt in jail. You can sit there and kill yourself. What is in the world? He says, sit your butt in jail. You can sit there and kill yourself. Does this man have no heart, no compassion for what, he supposedly believes? I guess this is no longer valid. As soon as we get to a pandemic, this is not valid. Our Constitution is no longer valid when we go through a pandemic. Is that how that works? You swore an oath, I, Joe Dieters, do solemnly swear. Well, I guess you didn't solemnly swear because you're willing to violate the rights of many. You're willing just sign it away. So he said, Dieters, the former state treasurer, didn't mince words when asked about those gathering for social events, specifically for religious purposes. And this is what really got me fired up when I was reading about it. He said, if I was the governor, I would tell these churches, the first attendees at your church is going to be the National Guard, because we're stopping this right now, okay? Dieters said, we're stopping it. No one is asking you not to pray to God. No one is asking you not to pray to Allah. No one is asking you not to pray. It can be done remotely. It's not a problem. But if it applies to these kids in the over the Rhine, it should apply to those churches too, and they should just stop it. I guess Joe Dieters didn't read his Constitution back in 8th grade. He didn't read about the First Amendment on which you sit, and you have a freedom of religion. You have a freedom to assemble. I guess, Joe Dieters missed that lesson in civics class. Because we have a right to go to church. We have a right to assemble. You can't force us in our homes because we're going through a pandemic. Our Constitution still applies. Just because you say it doesn't mean it doesn't. I am hoping the people that you arrest and charge with felonious assault get constitutional attorneys to sue Hamilton County. Specifically you, Joe Dieters. I hope that they sue you for violation of the United States Constitution of our First Amendment rights, because that is exactly what you're doing. He said, Dieters said that he spoke to Governor DeWine. He said to me, as bad as you think, it's worse. Dieters says on 7700 WLW, it's so contagious, and it's not just killing old people, it's killing young people too. And and to have the attitude of, the F the virus, I don't care, we're going to have a party, okay? You're putting everyone at risk. Dieters said he had a talk with the Sheriff Neal and Cincinnati Police Chief Elliot Isaac on Saturday. The consensus, according to Dieters, is everyone found to be violating the stay-at-home order will be going to jail. Look, I would agree, this is not pleasant for anyone. Dieters says, I'm going crazy. I'm going nuts at home, but that's what I think I have to do. I can make a phone call or talk to a judge or do whatever we got to do, but I'm going to follow what Governor DeWine wants us to do, and these people that flaunt it and make fun of it, I have absolutely no patience for. Joe Dieters, I'm going to send you a copy of the Constitution because obviously you need to read it again. You obviously need to have a civics lesson again because the First Amendment still applies during a pandemic, okay? It's not how this works. You can't suspend your people's rights just because you can, because you're the county prosecutor. I'm going to send you a copy. I'll take it up to the challenge. I will be personally sending a copy of the United States Constitution, and I will sign it to Joe Dieters to give him a civics lesson on what the First Amendment really says. Because honestly, I'm sick and tired of all these politicians who think they can violate our First Amendment, they can violate our rights just because we're going through this crisis. This is not a time for you to be violating our rights. This is not a time for you to pull political stunts on where you can violate the people's rights. We the people must take a stand. I'm sick and tired of politicians thinking they can lollygag over our rights, take them whenever they please. Because that's not how this works. That's not how our founders intended it to be. That's not how it's supposed to be. This is not what our founders intended this to be as. Our founders didn't intend for at every pandemic that we suspend the rights of the people. Let's look. Let's go through the Constitution. Can't find a single thing about it. Can't find a single shred of evidence to back Joe Dieters where it says, oh, I can force the people to stay in their homes. I can force the people not to go to church. I can enforce the National Guard to show up at that church if people don't comply. Where does it say that, Joe Dieters? Come on, please tell me. On where it says you can violate our constitutional rights. These politicians think that they can get away with it. No, we the people are watching. We the people will see you at the ballot box. It's honestly frustrating that these politicians think that they can get away with this. It's not going to happen. Us as citizens of the United States and as citizens of the state of Ohio, we need to bring light to this situation. That is all I have for today. Make sure that you listen in Monday Night Roundtable every Monday night on WHKW 1220 AM The Word from 7 to 9 p.m. every Monday night. You can call in to be part of the discussion, 888-677-9673. Again, that is 888-677-9673. Again, our website is right here, www.mondaynightroundtable.com. Go visit it and you can look at, hit the shows and go to the daily show, the daily update. And you can find our show there and listen more about it in our podcast there. And in other news, I'm giving away a book for people who sign up to it. If you go to our website or our Facebook page, you can sign up for a book giveaway. This is Russell Kirk's Concise Guide to Conservatism. The introduction's by Wilford McClay. So we will be giving away this book to one lucky person, and we will be mailing it out pretty soon here. So my name is Dakota Sawyer, and this is the Daily Update.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody. And it's why during our 15 Days to Slow the Spread initiative, we're encouraging young people to avoid large gatherings of 10 people or more, because we know that if you get coronavirus, you're at risk for spreading it to someone else.
It's not easy to say goodbye.